Welcome to eLearning Week 6 with your host, Mr. Keiley. Today we're going to talk about Asia. Our big question today is going to be, how does Asia impact the rest of the world economically, socially, politically, and through their natural means? Asia is a continent that contains 48 countries. While all 48 countries have an impact on the world, we're only going to take the time to look at some of the most important impacts that Asia makes using ESPN. Let's start off by looking at the E in ESPN, economics. Economically, Asia is super diverse. While some countries, like Japan, South Korea, and China, boast high standards of living, other countries struggle to provide basic services like running water and food to their people. The reason for these countries' economic success vary, but one of the key things that helps them out are their trade relations with the US. While most of the things we buy seem to be made in China, we also import a ton of things from other more developed countries. For example, like cars from Japan or K-pop from South Korea. Trading with Asian countries has always done well for both countries, but recently trade talks with China have changed. The president has accused China of being a currency manipulator and stealing our intellectual property, essentially controlling the market in the ways that can benefit them and also hurt Americans. As tensions rose between the two countries, the prices for goods in both places became shaky. At one point, the president even had to help out some soybean farmers in America to offset some of the damage in the trade war. What do you guys think about soybeans in the trade war? Let us know in the comments below. Actually, never mind, don't do that. Stop, don't do that. No. Keep it together. Keep it together. Oh man. Elsewhere, countries like India and the Philippines are providing services for other countries to stimulate their own economies. This can include working as technical support for a big company from another country. An example of this can be found in the Philippines, where AT&T has hired locals to work as technical support for American customers. So if you call AT&T customer support, it is a high likelihood that you will find somebody from a different country to talk to you. Some people say this is an unfair advantage for those countries and that these jobs should be going to Americans, while others argue that the service would be too expensive if Americans did all the work, because we're lazy. Interestingly, a few countries have put happiness as more important than economic development. The mountain country Bhutan has created what it calls basically a gross national happiness, in which they stress things like mental health, culture, and natural sustainability over things like money. Basically the opposite of America. By the way, in the 2019 study done by the World Happiness Report, which is a real thing, America ranked 18th in the world for happiness behind countries like Israel and Finland. We also had the highest rated people on antidepressants. Makes you think. I told you it was real. This idea of steering away from economic gain takes us to another factor in Asian living, which is there's something with their society. So I'm going to start off with their religions. Asia is home to a number of diverse religions, but I'm only going to highlight a few. While many countries like North Korea and China have pushed back against religious practices, many Asian citizens are devout followers of something bigger than themselves. When you think of Asian religions, what religions do you think of? Well, let's do a little Kahoot to find out. You guys thought there was going to be a Kahoot. When you think of Asian religions, you may not think of Islam, but Indonesia, Malaysia, and many of the other island countries make up a large percentage of Muslims in the world. Religion diffused there by some pretty convincing Arab and Indian traders in the 12th century, and has been adopted full scale with over half the population practicing it. Farther north, in countries like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, they practice Hinduism. 15% of the world's population are Hindus. Hindus are known as being polytheistic, which means they have many gods. They worship cows, and they believe in a caste system. While the caste system that puts people in social classes has actually been outlawed, many social factors make it difficult to completely get rid of it. Hindus also believe in reincarnation and karma. Do good, and in your next life, you'll do better things than this. Do bad, and you'll probably end up changing adult diapers. This idea of reincarnation is also present in another Asian religion, Buddhism. Buddhism was created by a Hindu prince in the 6th century BC. It was founded on the ideas of the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths, which include the ideas that life is suffering and the right effort and the right action make a big difference. Japan, China, and South Korea have a high population of Buddhists, and it is the 4th biggest religion in the world. So we've talked about the economics of Asia and a little bit about their religions, so let's talk about their politics now. There are a few governments in Asia that the outside world calls true democracies. South Korea, Japan, and India are a few of those. Other countries claim to be democratic, but generally Asian countries have a hybrid-style government with parts of democracy sprinkled in, like a democracy cake with genocide icing. What do I mean? Well, some countries try to get away with atrocities by having democracy in their name. Let's talk about the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. The DPRK, or more affectionately known as North Korea by most, is a one-man dictatorship ruled by Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un is the current leader of North Korea. North Korea has hated America ever since the Korean War because they chose communism over capitalism. Turns out that was a bad choice. They actually adopted this idea called juche, or self-reliance, which is adopted as a religion for them, where they worship the leaders. As you can see in this map, their self-reliance didn't work out too good for them. This is the sky at night, and as you can see, North Korea is completely black due to electricity shortages. Problems abound with this type of political system. As you can see here, the actual life expectancy of North Koreans is actually shorter than South Koreans, as well as North Koreans actually being physically shorter than South Koreans due to malnutrition. North Korea has been called out for being one of the most disastrous and heinous types of political systems in the world. That being said, North Korea isn't all bad. Just ask the citizens. Oh wait, you can't. They're all locked in there. But if you ask, Dennis Rodman, he'll tell you it's pretty great there. Other allies of North Korea include China, so that's why we generally don't like to mess with it as much as possible. So that would be an example of a bad democracy. Let's look at one that probably works pretty well. In South Asia, India is considered the world's largest democracy. Much like in America, Japan, and South Korea, people in India vote for their leaders. With over 1 billion citizens, the job of counting the votes and keeping things going takes a lot of work. Countries like Indonesia and the Philippines have similar issues with their democracies. Due to the fact that both countries have so many islands, getting each vote takes a long time. In Indonesia alone, there are over 800,000 polling stations on hundreds of islands. Now that we've discussed some opportunities and some setbacks when governing in Asia, let's talk about the natural landscape now. The entire continent is very diverse, and I keep saying it because it is. It has the world's tallest mountains with the Himalayas, thousands of islands in the southeast, and a massive rainforest-like area in between. The natural landscape has forced many dramatic adaptations by people. Because of the elevation, the Sherpa ethnic group in Nepal has adapted over generations to better use oxygen. It allows them to climb Mount Everest more easily, and whenever you want to go up to the mountain, most experts say that you should hire a Sherpa guide. While elevation and humidity and moisture can help impact how people actually live, humans can also impact the environment in positive and negative ways. Let's look at an example. Here we have China. As you can see, the red dots indicate the population of an area. Hopefully you guys all notice that it's mostly populated in the east by the coast. This has a big impact later on. The high population seen in the last slide kind of shows you what's going on here. As you can see, this beach is covered with beachgoers as they go out on the beach. Imagine that. This high population has more effects than you might think. For example, you can see here, this is a job interview fair. There are thousands of applicants for each job that they're looking for. And this high number leads to high production and consumption, which can lead to other issues as well, such as pollution. One of the biggest impacts here from this big population is impacting the water. No, and it's not from this picture of this big human soup it looks like. That's polluted enough in other ways, I'm sure. We're going to look at a little bit more dramatic. Actually faces some of the dirtiest water in the world. Trash and pollution from factories and other plants can contribute to a lot of this. The impact on the people is pretty dramatic. I mean, drinking water is pretty important for most things, and the pollution has led to increased instances of cancer and other diseases that are preventable with cleaner water. In addition to the water problem, China also has an issue with very polluted air. As you can see in this picture, tourists actually have to line up with a cardboard kind of cutout with a picture of the city on a clear day in order to take a picture of what it looks like because of all the smog. This impacts more than just China, as the air around it actually transfers and blows over to other countries, also polluting their airways as well. So while I've taken some time to give you the overall breakdown of some big picture things in the continent of Asia, it's also important to note that there are a lot of unique things that I haven't been able to cover here, and this week is your opportunity to do that. If there's anything in particular that you're extremely interested in learning about in Asia, please feel free to let your teacher know what you're interested in talking about and try to tailor your assignment around that. Like before, stay safe, wash your hands, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please email your teacher. Also, click down below for your like and subscribe. Thanks, viewers.